Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the Carré Company Digital Conference. This conference will be moderated by Eric Baissus, CEO of Carré, and Anne Gabreau, CFO of Carré. You have received the presentation by email in PDF format if your connection does not allow you to follow the live screening. Please keep your microphones closed and your webcam switched off during the conference. After this presentation, you will be able to speak during the question and answer session. Mr. Baissus, I'll let you speak.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining us today. Thanks for taking the time to talk with you about the latest update about Carré. So with Anne, we will go through the following agenda. So let me share my screen. Just 1 second. Here we are. So in terms of agenda, so we will first, of course, very rapidly give a reminder of who we are and what we do. And then we will very rapidly provide a summary of the key facts, what happened in H1. You will see that many news that we want to share with you. And then we will, of course, focus and zoom on a certain number of Zoom, especially about the what has been done in terms of business development, in terms of product launch during H1, and the last part will be about financials and about next step and key objective for this year. But let me start with a very rapid update about who we are. So Carré in a nutshell, and I'm sure most of you know us, but let me just give a very rapidly overview of who we are. So Carré, as you certainly know, we are a semiconductor company, a fabless company, and we actually design a new type of processor, which is targeting a new market, a new booming market that will be at the heart of our industry the next decade, which is about intelligent systems. And what we mean by intelligent systems, we mean any system which analyze a huge flow of data to extract information and take decisions. You may have heard about edge computing. Edge computing is getting more and more popular and getting more and more traction, and we are actually in the middle of this type of market, even if we believe intelligent systems is a bit broader than just edge computing. Let me go very rapidly on the key facts, what happened in H1. And you will see that we have many topics we would like to go through today. I will first focus on data center. As you know, data center is one of our main and focus in one main market. And we have continued deploying our strategy around our acceleration cards, and I will give you all the date and clarification of where we are. But in terms of news, what has been announced during the last few months, first announcement, which has been very important, and we come back on that, has been the announcement of our latest acceleration card, which is the K200-LP. And this announcement is very important because the K200-LP is the first card that we have designed with our partner Wistron to target high volume production. That's something we shared with you last time. The previous card we had were more centered about R&D, about development, and we've been working for now more than 6 months to set up all the facilities, on manufacturing capabilities, all the tests, so that now we've got a production and manufacturing tool for boards, so that we can really go into volume in the coming months. And this is, of course, very important. The second news and update we want to share with you as far as data center market is concerned has been the launch of the first product from our partner Wistron. And so Wistron has developed a first storage product that is called Furio 1200. And this actually is interesting because the first storage appliance on the market leveraging Carré card. So it was using so far the previous version, which was for development of a card. And then, of course, this is under upgrade with the latest generation of our card to go to mass production. And of course, I will give you an update on that, where we stand in terms of pilot, how Wistron sees this market, and what type of revenue we may expect from this product. Next item, next news is about something very important. I will spend some time today to explain why it makes a lot of sense in terms of strategy and why it's something we are very excited about. Is that so we have developed in the last few months a complete storage appliance by ourselves with some partners. And we will be announcing a new storage appliance based on our card that is called a Flashbox in September, and will be available for our customers, both for end customers, but also for OEM or for ODM for redistribution. Okay. So this is, of course, very much in line with what we announced previously. So we package basically our solution into a server appliance that we call a Flashbox, and I explain to you why it is very exciting, why it is very important, and why it is completely aligned with our strategy and the strategy we shared with you in the last months. Fourth, very interesting news is about another usage of our card, which is to optimize in terms of performance, in terms of power consumption, what are called virtualized environment in data center. This is a very interesting news because first, it's a collaboration with two very interesting partners called Vates. That is a company, software company expert in what we call hypervisor, which means virtualized software, and the Scaleway data center. And this is very important. Why? Because if you remember last time we talked, I mentioned to you that once again, our core focus is about selling our cards. And the storage industry, basically, you have two ways to sell cards, either in a storage server, even in the server which are connected to the storage servers. Okay, and of course, what is very interesting in the servers connected to the storage servers is that the number is higher. Okay, and the point here is to have a solution so that you can plug in a card into these servers, which are called compute nodes, to improve performance. And this is the first use case, which is pretty exciting for us because it opens an even wider market and volume in the storage market. And then the last news, and I will of course come back on that in detail, is about using our acceleration cards in a domain which is not so far away, but which is centered about 5G. And you may have seen that we announced a very interesting co-development project with very large and well-known players, so Orange, and especially Orange and Atos, to develop a server dedicated to 5G, optimized server. And I will explain later on why it's very interesting, why, once again, it's very aligned with our strategy of selling and deploying our selection cards in data centers, and when we expect that this type of announcement will start generating revenue. So now let's move to the key news for the second market that we focus on, which is the automotive market. So you may remember that beginning of this year, NXP announced the availability of what they call a Blue Box 3.0. The Blue Box 3.0 is integrating Kalray processor, integrating Kalray card, and is a platform of development that NXP provide to car makers or to integrator in the car industry. So as you may remember, I mean, the key value of this deal is, of course, to leverage NXP presence on the market, NXP credibility, and to push our technology into the hands of our customers, into the hands of all big car makers or big tier 1. So this was announced beginning of the year, and of course that's very, very important, and that's a result of a strategic collaboration we have with NXP, and we've been building for the last 1 year and a half. But there is also something new we want to share with you today, which is a different project, which is leveraging also our technology in a different way. And I will give you a little bit more information about this project. Project which is pretty exciting because it leverages our technology not only in terms of performance, because performance is more about high-end type of vehicle, but also in terms of how to integrate all the functions of a car. And this concerns actually any segment, especially the high value segment that we call level 1, level 2. So opportunity is very, very interesting. It's pretty long-term opportunity. Of course, I will clarify that, but you will see that's a very interesting project that we have with a major car integrator. In terms of finance, I will let Anne give you all the details and answer any question you may have. So in terms of revenue, stable revenue, as you know, we are still in this pre-volume phase. So we basically sell license, dev kit. So revenue is, of course, very small. And as you know, we expect to have the revenue grow significantly in H2, and I will explain how we see that, and we are confident that we will make it. At the same time, as now I think you're used to that, so we had good management of our cash, and you will see that our cash position is pretty strong, and I will let Anne later on explain how we did that. In addition to that, as you may have seen, we've been selected for 2 projects that will provide additional funding. One project which is about financing our roadmap, and we expect from this project, which has been selected, basically a few millions of funding to basically fund our roadmap. And the second project is actually the project I introduced about 5G. It happened that this project is not only very interesting in terms of business, not only interesting in terms of a partnership we're putting in place, but also because it's a project that will be also funded by the French administration for an extra couple of millions. So of course, this funding will complement our cash and complement our capability to continue investing in our next generation of product. But now let me give you more details about some of these key news and go into much more detail, of course, in terms of what type of business we expect and when. And I will focus once again first on data center, because as you know, this is really the market where we expect and we will have short-term revenue. And as you understood, our strategy is really focused about this type of product and this product. So this product is, of course, integrating our chip, which is the key, value differentiator we have on this market, but it's packaged as a complete card that, as I told you, that we announced the K200-LP, which has a few very important features. The first one, as I said, is it's ready for volume production. So we've got all of manufacturing in place so that we can ramp up volume for hundreds and then thousands of cards per month. And this has been a very, very important effort from the team and for our partner Wistron to put that in place. And when I talk about volume production, of course, that means that everything is in place to have a price and a cost which is in line with what you can see in the market for high volume. The key differentiation also, if you consider this card, is first the power efficiency, which is extremely important. So 30 watts, just to give you an indication, if you compare to a Mellanox/NVIDIA card doing the same thing with a chip called Bluefield, the power envelope is about 100 watts for the same card. Okay, so we've got a very, very good power efficiency, and which allow us to have something which is compact, and which is of course very, very important. And the size of a card actually is called low profile because it's the smallest format you can have as a card to integrate this card into a server. Okay, and this card is fully programmable. This is really the key differentiator of our solution. It's of course leveraging the key architecture we have, which is these many cores, so the capability to have a lot of cores on the same die, and this is one, of course, is leveraging Coolidge with 80 cores. And you will see, and that's the message in the next slide. You will see that basically a number of projects, and all of these projects are based on this card, but with a different software. Okay, and this is what is very, very important in our approach. So we've got the ability to basically use the same hardware, large volume, and to leverage the same hardware and to customize it depending on the use case we address. So as you may remember, our first top focus for generating revenue, and that will be the real focus in terms of H2 revenue, is storage market. In terms of storage market, you may remember that the first step, the first product we have is the card itself. Okay, so card itself has all the functions you need to support the next generation of storage that will be deployed in the market and which are based on this new technology, which is called NVMe. Okay, and NVMe is really a disruption in the storage industry since it provides, in terms of speed, a ratio between 10 to 100 speed improvement versus traditional technology. Okay, and we have centered our offer around the adoption of NVMe technology. So K200-LP, we've been working on this card for many months. We've got the software that has been certified, so the card is available, and we have a couple of customers that will ramp up in H2 with a command that were expected. But this is a model, a build your own model. Okay, so this is for understanding. For us, who are the customers for this card as far as storage market is concerned? These cards are storage maker, okay, that develop their own server. Then another product has been announced this semester. This product is from one of our partner, Wistron. It's called the Furio 1200, and this is a complete server. This server is the first server which is leveraging our card. It's using a Wistron chassis, so Wistron box. It's a basic server supporting NVMe technology, supporting performance. And as you know, so Wistron went through a certain number of POC with our support, and POC are going very well with good result. Performance is perceived as very excellent. And we expect to have this product really deployed commercially in H2 that will generate some revenue for us as we will sell cards through Wistron to of course, provide the card to this chassis. Something important to understand is that this chassis is really a first phase with a pretty basic set of features, especially it's not data resilient. So data resiliency is something very important in the storage industry because it's about providing security that data, whatever happened, will never be lost. Okay? And it includes a lot of data resiliency, include a lot of additional features so that you can guarantee that if something is broken down, if for example one module does not work, there is another one which automatically replaces so that there is absolutely no data loss. So we decide actually in complement to the K200LP and to the products that are launched typically with a Wistron, we decide actually to build with a large partner to build our own storage appliance, our own storage array supporting NVMe that we call Flashbox. So why this decision? This decision is really the result of a couple of feedback we got from the market. The first one is that most of our customers, enterprise, cloud service provider, but also actually storage maker, they want from us a complete storage appliance. Okay, they don't want to build the storage appliance by themselves and software and so on, something complete. Okay, and Flashbox is a complete solution, including the hardware and software. So that's the first feedback. And the reason for that is really to make the adoption very, very smooth and to make sure that it's very easy for our customers to deploy this new technology in a transparent way. The second things and the second feedback we got from the different pilots we ran is that even if non-data resilient product have a market, if you support data resiliency, then the market is much wider, and we can really address all the AI and all the data intensive market, which is now booming. So we decide to work and to provide this feature in addition, and to have these features pre-integrated into a Flashbox. And the last point is that having this Flashbox that gives us a tool to work with our customers to define the new features and to make sure that we can leverage our technology with them to provide these new features that really differentiate us. What is very important is how do we intend to go to market to sell this product. So we will use our standard channel, we use distributor, and we use OEM to provide this market, this appliance on the market. And that's really a way for us to complement our strategy and to make sure that we provide something which is in line with market expectation to adopt this new technology and VMware Fabric and our own technology. So basically, just as a summary, because I think it's very important to explain our strategy around this Flashbox and what are the benefits it brings, you can see that basically there are two ways to leverage what we've done in the Flashbox, either as a turnkey appliance, okay, and once again, a lot of customers, including reseller and OEM, they want a turnkey appliance, okay, and this is what we can offer them with the Flashbox. But also build your own system so that it can be used as a reference design so that our customers, our partners, they can design their own chassis, they can design their own appliance. At the end of the day, our objective, our strategy remains the same, is to push our card on the market and to sell as many cards as possible. So before going into the detail of the schedule, because before going into the detail of the sales expectation and business development expectation, let me just share why we believe the window is now and why we have a very, very interesting window in front of us. Once again, what is very interesting right now is that the NVMe technologies start to be really mainstream. You may have seen, for example, large storage maker such as Western Digital, who announced recently that they will actually focus on NVMe. They will sell only NVMe product, NVMe memories, and stop supporting historic standard like SAT or SAN, and SATA. So this is really a very good movement of the industry that shows that the industry now is finally adopting NVMe fabric. And why our product, like Flashbox or the product with our cards that we are pushing, is very relevant, because there is a need in the industry actually to aggregate this memory into a storage appliance, so that you can leverage the performance and you can reduce the overall cost of adoption of NVMe. In terms of schedule, what does that mean? And once again, just to make it clear, I'm focusing right now on our storage market and what we do on storage market, which is our shorter term focus. You may remember, so we have a certain number of pilots ongoing, and so some of them, we've got a couple of them which are finalized, a couple of them which are still ongoing, and basically we expect to go to mass production in the coming weeks. Okay. In terms of what type of product we're going to sell in H2, basically, as you can understand, so there are 3 products that we expect to sell and where we expect order very soon. First one are cards, okay? And cards either from customers which are designing their product and launching their product in the coming months, and also cards that we will sell to Wistron once they sell their own chassis, the Fury 1200. And in parallel, we will expect to sell the Flashbox. We will officially announce in a big event with storage customers end of September with all the details of the Flashbox, and we will start the commercial deployment starting by end of September. So we expect to start selling some Flashboxes by the end of the year. Just to give you some ballpark prices, card itself is about 1,000 euros. Okay. A Flashbox actually is composed of a chassis, very basic chassis, a few of our cards, so typically 2 to 6 cards, memories, and of course software on top of it. And a Flashbox actually will be available into half a dozen of configuration, depending on the number of cards, depending on the capacity of the Flashbox. And the price point will range from about $20K, sorry, up to something around $1,050K. So you can see that the Flashbox itself actually can actually be pretty expensive, depending on the capacity and the performance that we provide in the market. And what is a market that we focus on? So the market is about data-intensive applications. This is a huge market which is exploding now, and which is exploding. Why? Because that's very interesting. Most of the traditional vanilla application, they go to the cloud. Okay. So now the focus of IT architect is to implement and to keep actually infrastructure which are dedicated for what is strategic for the company, and what is strategic usually for the company are data-intensive application or application with data having a very, very high value. Okay. So in terms of application, we address with a Flashbox, with our cards, once again, in the storage market. It is about data analytics, it's about AI and deep learning, it's about financial service, it's about life science and HPC. So these are all the applications in vertical that are requesting this new type of product, storage, very fast, reliable, easy to integrate, and not too expensive. Okay. So it's a kind of new market, very complementary to existing market. And we believe that we can have a very, very interesting part of this market starting in the coming months. Okay. So this was for storage and storage appliances. A word about what we announced and the work that we announced with Bates and Scaleway. It is still about storage. but it's about optimizing virtual environment. Just to explain a little bit what we mean. As you may know, actually, traditionally, about 15 years ago, one application, one hardware, so one computer was dedicated to one application and one operating system. Of course, the industry has made a lot of effort to share the same hardware to a lot of applications and to a lot of customers. And this is what we call virtualization. So virtualization actually is a technique that enables to run as if there were several servers on one server. Okay. But so this is something which is widely deployed in the industry for obvious reason, because of course it reduces the cost of hardware for the same offer in terms of software. This virtualized environment and this virtualized architecture are facing a certain number of challenges. There are more and more virtual machines, so that means there are more and more machines which are virtualized and that run on the same hardware. There are more and more companies sharing the same machine, which brings challenges, especially in terms of security. The networks of the communication between the machine, between the application is getting faster and faster. And something also which brings a huge disruption is about storage. And why storage brings disruption? Because of NVMe. So we're back to what I explained before. NVMe is a new standard which brings a huge increase in terms of performance for memory between 10 to 100. And of course, that's a challenge for the traditional architecture to support such speed. And so to resolve this challenge, the industry is, of course, investigating a different way. And there is now a tendency, definitely a massive view that only way to make this happen, to really make this environment optimized, is to use acceleration cards. And this is where Carre fits into the picture. So our acceleration cards, the previous example, we're using an acceleration card into storage server. This example is using exactly the same storage card with a little bit different software that we're developing right now with our partner, that can be integrated into these servers running the virtualization software to make it much more efficient, because we offload most of the demanding workload to manage the network, to manage storage, to the card. And the improvement in terms of power optimization, for example, is something between 30 and 50%. So you can imagine that for a data center, this is massive in terms of value. Okay. And so we work with a first data center called Scaleway in France to deploy and to test and to provide and to propose this optimized environment to customers. Okay. So this product is under development. It's not a massive development, and we expect to have the first version available for commercial deployment by end of the year. Okay. So this was about focusing of short-term revenue, leveraging our card. Let me now share a little bit more about 5G and what we expect in terms of 5G and when we expect revenue with 5G. 5G, I mean, this is a slide I already shared with you. It's about why is there a room for accelerator in 5G and why the market is extremely interesting. The reason for that, and this is, I like this slide because actually it's not a slide that we designed at Calre. It's actually a slide based on feedback and based on the view of a big guy in the industry, which is called Dell. And so Dell actually, I mean, is very much pushing for acceleration technology, for usage of acceleration into the server. And they really believe that the accelerators will play a key role in 5G and in edge computing in general. And I think the diagram in the picture here is very interesting and obvious when you compare a 4G infrastructure and you see a 5G infrastructure. We're not going into the detail, but you can see that basically the way you deploy 5G is very different for a lot of reasons. And basically the way you deploy 5G is by having small data center that we call edge data center close to the antenna. And these small data center actually are composed of standard servers running standard software that need to be complemented with acceleration card to run all the protocols which are heavy demanding in terms of data processing. And that's where we fit. So what is the project that we've put in place with Orange and Atos and that we recently announced? This project is completely aligned with our strategy to sell acceleration cards, but in the domain of edge data center. This project has actually as main objective to use our card into edge servers to accelerate 4 types of application. The first one is what we call Open RAN, which is a layer 1, so a low-level part of a 5G protocol. The second one is about networking and security. Of course, there are a lot of networking and security protocol in the 5G that needs to be optimized in terms of performance. And we're working with 6WIN, which is one of the key software provider in terms of network and security stack. And we've been working already with 6WIN. Of course, that's a way for us to strengthen our relationship and to widen this relationship to 5G market. And there's also a need to use our card to accelerate functions that we already accelerate today, which are the AI and compute in general, and storage. Okay. So the project includes all these use cases on the same card, and the goal is to integrate these cards into Atos Edge Server to make a product with a relevant software, and to provide it to Orange, to have Orange testing it, to have a real experiment. And actually, one real experiment will be performed around a very interesting use case, which is the use case of intelligent transport system that will be driven by Renault. Okay. So you see a very, very interesting project because first, it leverages completely what we have today. Okay, so it's not, it's completely aligned with our strategy. Very interesting because this project includes key leaders of the industry from the various part of the value chain, software provider, server maker, carrier operator, and end user. And because it's very, very concrete and it's about a very, very important market. So for your information, the market we're talking about is about selling hundreds of thousands or more of cards on the market. And we expect to have the first product that we can deploy on the market by end of 2022, so by end of next year. So we expect definitely that 5G and the usage of our cards in 5G will be a key growth driver in the next year for car. So I've been talking about data center. We'll first zoom on storage, and then a window or next step that could be usage of our card for 5G. Now let me give you latest views about automotive. Of course, automotive is a bit longer term. As you may remember, we expect revenue, massive revenue by 2024, typically. And let me explain where we are today. You may remember that actually Carrier technology is pretty unique in the sense that we can bring value on 2 challenges, main challenges that face the car industry, that will face the car industry in the coming years. The first one, obviously, is performance. You may have seen and you easily understand that a next generation car, especially if you support functions like advanced driving, autonomy, need much more performance than what you have in a traditional car. And this has been actually the usage of our card, and you will see that the main purpose of using our card in the NXP Blue Box is to bring this extra performance that is required for this type of functions. But there is another challenge in the industry, which is about aggregation, which is about putting on much reduced number of chips all the functions you have in a car. Today in a car, you have a lot of microcontrollers, typically between 50 to 100. And so the industry, of course, want to reduce this number for a couple of reasons. First one is, of course, in terms of price, in terms of maintenance, but also because if we continue having a car, having all these microcontrollers, it's not 100, but it's 200, it's 500 microcontrollers that we need. It happens that Carrier technology is extremely relevant to address this challenge because, as you know, our core technology is about many core. So our core technology is about putting a lot of cores on the same chip and to guarantee that each core can run independently. So basically, the vision is very simple, is that thanks to Carrier technology, you can integrate all of these small microcontrollers into a single die. In terms of business, in terms of partnership, what does it mean? You know that the NXP has announced the Blue Box 3.0, and in that case, we really focus on what we call level 2+ to level 3, level 4 type of vehicle, having a demand for intensive computing for autonomous driving or what we call driver assistance. Okay. But we just, I mean, have been selected for another project with a very large integrator in the car industry to leverage our technology for the second challenge. Okay. And what does it mean? That means that actually, even if the industry in the last 3 to 4 years really focused on bringing more performance, leveraging ADAS and pushing these new functions, the industry realized that the volume is not there. It will take time before you have a high volume in this type of vehicle. But there is a need. There is also a need to improve and to make the electronic of a car much more efficient. And really, the whole industry is converging into this type of architecture that you have in front of you, which is basically to have a central compute which aggregates most of the traditional features of a car, okay, and connected to a certain of silo in the car. And this central compute will be in all the segments of a car, okay, from level 1 to level 5. And then you plug onto the central compute, depending the segment you want to address, depending the level of performance you want in terms of autonomy and the level of performance in terms of connection to the cloud and cockpit, you plug additional module, which are module for ADAS and module for cockpit. Okay. And so what we are working with our integrator is really leveraging our technology to design solution to be at the heart of central compute. It's a long-term project. So revenue there again will be more around 2024 to 2025. But what is very interesting is that this is really the bulk of the volume in the car industry. Okay. And at the end of the day, what you can see is that we have a technology which can, at the end of the day, integrate the function because we can support not only a central compute, but also little by little the capability to also bring performance for additional features like ADAS. So what I suggest, so we will move now to financials, and then I will wrap up all of the information. I think it was a lot of information. I will wrap up to clarify how they fit with our objectives, how they fit with the timing, and then I'll let you ask any question. Anne, do you want to give more details about financials and cash?
Yes, so quickly, because we are not disclosing here the financial statements for half year 2021, but only revenue and the cash position. So revenue net sales for H1, we are at 415k euros. This is relatively stable compared to previous year. And this is still the revenue of this pre-volume phase, meaning it's a revenue that consists in sale of boards, of developer services and license, but it's not volume sales. And we are again expecting these volume sales to start in H2. And we keep this objective of several million revenue in 2021, which of course will be done by far in the second semester. Regarding the cash position, so we are end of June at 18.8 million euro. We were at 20.2 at the end of 2020, so it's a net cash consumption of 1.4 million. Of course, we invested and we kept on our investment rhythm, I would say, but we got 7 million euro from the equity line that we set up in February 2021 with Kepler Chevreux, and I will give you more details on the next slide on this equity line. Eric, okay, so this equity line, we started in February. The total value is 12 million euro, and this is supposed to last over a maximum period of 24 months. The status now is that we have been raising the money quicker than they could be expected with this 24 months duration. So we are at 7 million euro now. This means 192,000 new shares that were raised month after month. We communicated the exact number of shares each month. And this is creating a dilution up to now of 3.4% on a non-diluted basis, which is something that is we consider quite reasonable with for the cash that we got in exchange of these new shares. The equity line is here to finance 2021, but not only. It's mainly a way to finance also our investment capacity for next year, and especially for the next generation of chip that we start to design very now. I would say that we are starting the preliminary studies on this year. I think that's it for the financial outlook.
Thank you, Anne. So let me wrap up, and then of course we will answer any question you may have. But let me wrap up. I think it's very important to share with you how does that align with our overall strategy, all the news we share today, and why it's completely consistent, and it's consistent with our strategy to be a leading provider, especially a European leading provider of technology, to be at the heart of this new market of edge computing, of this huge market about data processing. Okay. So let me really insist on the consistency of what I just said, and also clarify once again timings, because it may be very easy to get lost with this project and not understanding what is the time of introduction, when we can expect business and revenue. As you can see, these are the 4 key objectives that we share with you since the beginning of the year. And I hope that you will recognize all of the news, and you will be able to map these news into one of these 4 quadrants. The first one is our first top priority is about storage market, is about volume ramp up, okay, and generating revenue. So this is really the top focus of the company today. And this is about K200-LP, this is about the Flashbox, and about selling our solution as fast as possible. Okay, and this will be the bulk of the revenue we expect in H2. So selling our cards and selling our cards to partners like Furio, like the product Furio, and also starting having some revenue also by selling a Flashbox. Okay. These also include the type of product I share with you that we design with Vates. You know, once again, it's about selling our cards for the storage market and data center. I also mentioned 5G. 5G, of course, the expectation in terms of revenue is a little bit later. As I share with you, it's about starting maybe end of 2022, definitely 2023. And 5G was part of a second objective, which was to test and to try to see if we could be relevant for adjacent market about what we do that could bring additional revenue in the next years. And you may remember that we had identified 2 key markets for us, which are very interesting for us. Why? Because they need the type of technology we have, because the market size is very important, and because what they need in terms of offer is very, very close to what we have. Okay. And so we continue investigating smart vision, as you know, and we expect to have a good feedback about shall we go or not by the end of December. In terms of 5G, of course, you've seen and we discussed that the result of this investigation, what we see is that our card is very relevant. What we see is that it's a huge market that we can address with what we have today rapidly. And so we decide to move forward for 5G. Okay. So in terms of timing, storage market, starting now, okay. 5G expectation end 2022. If we had to also engage in smart vision, expectation in terms of revenue would be also end of 2022, 2023, okay. If you go now on the right, automotive market. So we've been very transparent from the beginning, even when we introduced the company. Automotive market is much longer term. And you can see that both for ADAS functions or to use our solution as at the heart of a central compute platform, which will be deployed in all the segments of automotive, this is long term. And our strategy here is really to partner with big players and to leverage this big player to push our technology in the market and then to generate a huge amount of revenue, but by 2024, 2025, starting there. In addition, what we shared last time, and from beginning of the year, we believe that we can play a unique role as a leading European provider of this type of technology. And we believe that's very, very important, especially in the sovereign context that we can see today following the health crisis. And so we said that we believe that we can be supported and that will be important to actually participate to the funding of the next generation of chip. Because once again, we are other company. So we cannot focus only on short-term revenue. We need to prepare what will be available by 2024, 25. And you can see that we made a lot of progress also here. We've got 2 projects which has been funded, which shows that with the visibility we have today and the willingness to support Kalray both at French level and European level. And we believe that's also very, very important, and that was part of our objective. Okay. So once again, I hope you have understood the strategy, the consistency of the strategy, the fact that we are a hardware and software company. I mean, we sell hardware that means that we, of course, need to prepare things in advance, but it doesn't mean that we focus only in future. We also focus on generating revenue now, but it's about generating revenue now, but also generating 100 million euro in 2023, which is our key objective.